Hang on. If I'm going to tell the fourth story, there's no need for us to return to the newspaper club room. I planned to talk about this cherry blossom tree as well. My name's Iwashita Akemi. I'm in the 3rd grade. I was surprised when Fukuzawa-san told us the story about the cherry blossom tree 3rd. It's hard to believe that a 1st grader such as yourself would know any stories about the tree. I mean, only a few people know about the legends regarding this tree. But I'm glad that your story was a lie. I wonder where on earth you heard that story from. Yeah, a part of it was true, but what did you hear to come up with such a fake story? Fukuzawa-san, are you a writer or something? Or are you just a fraud? Don't get angry at me, okay? I'm just telling you the truth. You said that they buried dead bodies here during the war. That the tree was subjected to horrific sights. That the living were also buried with the dead during the war. How ridiculous! And even if that were true, there are so many more worse things it's undoubtedly seen. At any rate, this cherry blossom tree is said to be over 1,000 years old. I'll agree with you on that point. This area is famous for a large battle that took place during the Warring States period. Have you studied history? There wasn't much to eat during the Warring States period, so do you know what people ate? Well, I'm not gonna say it. And do you know what types of lives they were forced to live? They stripped dead generals of their armor, selling it for a pittance. Then they cut off the general's scalp, selling the hair. Then they chased the fleeing soldiers down and assaulted them. It's just a fantasy. And those mountains of the dead fed this tree more than enough nutrients for it to grow? If that's what you're saying, then trees all over Japan would be cursed. We wouldn't be able to go to flower viewings, and people would die every time they entered the forest. No doubt about it. This cherry blossom tree has a deep-seated grudge. Not just one, but many. But it's not those of soldiers who died during World War II, or even those who died during the Warring States period. It's something entirely different. The deep-seated grudge, born of the strong attachment of normal people living normal lives towards a world that treated them cruelly. Kurata-san, what you saw before was that grudge. It wasn't dead soldiers from the war. Now, I'm going to tell you the real story. The truth behind the grudge attached to this tree. In return, I want you to promise me something. No matter what happens, you won't move from this spot until I'm done. Not only that, but you won't scream. Okay? Can you promise me that? I can. I'm glad. Well then, let me tell you a story. Can you all see the branch high up there? There's a large, fat branch up there. Can you see it? That branch is perfect to hang yourself from. Do you know what other name they called this tree? It's called the hanging cherry blossom tree. Do you know why? I don't know. Of course you don't. I didn't think you would. The legend surrounding this tree is a lot simpler than you think. For sure, there were people in the past who hung themselves from this tree. But they didn't die of their own free will. The tree chose them. Sounds fake, right? But it's not. Each and every year, this tree chooses a sacrifice of its own free will. I doubt any of you would have heard the story about someone hanging themselves from this tree every year. Of course, Fukuzawa-san and yourself are only first graders, so it makes sense that you wouldn't. And as for the school, they tried to hide it, but it's not an easy thing to hide. Of course, people would hear about it. About the school, where somebody hangs themselves from the cherry blossom tree each and every year. Creepy, right? If you had known that rumor, you wouldn't have come here, right? You're right, I wouldn't have. Right? And that's why nobody knows. Strange, right? Do you know why? Because the tree buries those sacrificed to it itself. So there's no dead body to find. Even so, the fact remains that people disappear. And yet, it's never found out. Nobody is surprised. Their teachers, their friends, their family, nobody worries about them. Why do you think that is? The person who is chosen as a sacrifice, their existence is erased from everyone's minds. So basically, that person's life and past, all of it is somehow erased. It's like you were never there to begin with. That's why nobody notices. And that's why nobody worries. Because nobody knows who that person is. So, don't you want to know why the tree requires a sacrifice? Kurata-san, are you interested? I am. Right? Anyone would want to know why. Those who say otherwise are liars. I hate liars. I love honest people. In the past, this cherry blossom tree used to be a popular gathering spot for couples. This was all several decades ago now. Students at the time were simple and naive. They were so shy that they could barely hold hands. It took all their resolve just to work up to a kiss. It was said that couples who kissed and professed their love beneath this tree would be together forever. The tree wasn't yet known by the ominous hanging tree name. It was a symbol that joined two people in love together in happiness. At the time, there was a couple by the names of Hirooka Kunio and Orihara Hatsune. The couple believed in the legend and dreamed of one day sharing a kiss and professing their love beneath the tree, uniting their love forever. But these types of legends are not always happy stories. Sometimes there are bad stories too. Supposing that somebody saw them the moment they kissed beneath the tree, then that couple would meet a tragic end. That's why there weren't many couples willing to actually try it out. If you told someone about it, they'd come to watch out of interest. And even if you didn't say anything, there was a chance someone might happen to pass by at the right moment anyway. It's well thought out, right? If anyone could do it, then the legend would lose all value. So, when the pair tried to determine the truth, they couldn't find even rumors. Although there might have been plenty of couples who had actually done it. Everyone was pure, so they might not have said anything out of embarrassment. Or if they did, and they broke up, then people would laugh at them. That secret was something special, and only for the two people involved. That's why neither Hiraoka-san nor Orihara-san said anything about it, and waited for their time to come. At the time, it was the boy's job to confess. Although these days there are a lot of womanizers around, so it seems like girls are stronger. When the cherry blossom tree started to bloom, Hiraoka made up his mind. When the tree was in full bloom, they would carry out the ritual of legend. Orihara-san, if you'd like, would you care to join me alone beneath the cherry blossom tree? She understood what it meant to visit that tree together. Orihara-san blushed and gave a small nod. How happy Hiraoka-san must have been. I understand it very well. Then he asked, "When shall we go?" How do you think Orihara-san answered? On the night of the next full moon. On the night of the next full moon, the tree should be in full bloom, so... The couple held hands and looked into each other's eyes. No other words were needed. Those who have never been in love before probably wouldn't understand though. I wonder if you understand. Then, the night of the full moon finally arrived. As the day drew closer, their hearts screamed and fluttered. On the day, their eyes met during lunch, but both of them were so embarrassed that they quickly looked away. The pair met by the rear gate that night at 10 p.m. It was a quiet, lonely night. Of course, both of them had snuck out of their houses. If they told their families the truth, they'd never let them go. Were you waiting long? No, I just got here. Although they both believed the other would come, until they actually got there, they were still worried. When they saw each other, they ran towards each other and clasped hands. Then they nodded. That was the sign that they were both ready to go ahead with it. Then they passed by the side of the old school building, making their way towards the cherry blossom tree. They both knew their hands were sweating. And although they tried not to focus on it, they could hear the beating of their own hearts and that of each other's. Seeing the silhouette of the tree under the moonlight was so beautiful that it made their breath catch. It seemed like a dream. But then, the two of them saw something they shouldn't have. A couple was already standing beneath the tree. They had just pressed their lips together. If the legends were true, then unhappiness now awaited this couple. Ah! Without thinking, they screamed. The couple holding each other close in the silhouette of the tree suddenly broke apart. Then they looked around. Hiraoka-san and Orihara-san tightly gripped each other's hands. If they didn't move, they'd soon be discovered. What do you think they did? They ran. Run! Holding his girlfriend's hand, Hiraoka-san suddenly ran. Wait! Wait! A male voice called out behind them, but they didn't turn around. It was a sad voice that seemed to fall right over their backs. But the pair were so scared, they couldn't turn around. Next thing they knew, they had reached the nearby park. What are we gonna do? Orihara-san was close to tears. That couple probably hated them now. They were in the moonlight, but it was possible that they had still seen their faces. Thinking about it, Orihara grew scared and couldn't stop the tears from overflowing. How do you think Hiraoka-san answered her? They'd stay quiet and keep it as their secret. I didn't see their faces. Did you? Hiraoka-san asked, worried. She just quietly shook her head. Hearing that, he decided. They wouldn't say a thing. We'll keep this our secret. If we do that, then they'll probably convince themselves that they didn't see us either. Then misfortune won't befall them either. Saying the words out loud, Hiraoka-san managed to convince himself as well. That probably was the best course of action as well. Orihara-san agreed to go along with his plan. Then, with that shared secret in hand, they grew even closer. It's important for couples to share a secret that only they know. When you do, it quickly strengthens the relationship. That type of thinking was probably where the legend of the cherry blossom tree came from as well. Then, the pair promised to try again the next night and went their separate ways. The pair believed wholeheartedly in each other. Accidentally seeing another pair kissing beneath the tree probably strengthened their own bond. They felt things would go well for them. But the next day, the boy and girl were found dead, hanging from the cherry blossom tree. There was no suicide note. They were bound by the rope so that their bodies wouldn't be separated, holding each other close, even in death. Hiraoka-san realized something. The dead couple were undoubtedly the pair they had seen the night before. Because they had been seen kissing, they must have been so upset at the unhappiness waiting for them that they committed suicide. If they couldn't be united in this world, then they vowed to be happy together in the next. Does that story sound unbelievable to you? You think it's stupid to die over something like that? But, you see, people in the past were very serious when it came to matters of love. It might be beyond your understanding. Orihara-san felt the same as Hiraoka-san. They met at the same time, in the same place as the night before. Even so, they found it difficult to go to the tree. More than ever, they didn't feel like they could carry out the ritual. But thinking about the couple who had killed themselves after being seen, they didn't want to be alone. It's my fault. They died because I ran away. If we had just explained things, they wouldn't have died. Hiraoka-san said listlessly, his face downcast. Orihara-san just cried quietly. To be honest, neither of them knew what to do next. Then it happened. A voice suddenly called out to them. It wasn't a voice they heard clearly with their ears, but a voice that seemed to be directly inside their heads. At first they were surprised, thinking that somebody was watching them. But there was no sign of anyone around. Then they heard it clearly again. You killed them. It was a voice full of hatred. Their legs trembled and they froze on the spot. The voice stung like a final blow. Because you saw them, they lost their young lives. If you hadn't thought such evil thoughts, time would have passed peacefully. If you really do feel any responsibility, then why don't you take responsibility for it? The voice pressured them. An oppressive voice with not a shred of kindness. The pair looked at the ground, silent. The voice challenged them to take responsibility. If it were you, how will you answer? I'd take responsibility. That's right. You unexpectedly have a pure heart, huh? That was also how they answered. They felt conscience-stricken over it. You're right. I'm the one in the wrong, and if I can, I'd like to take responsibility for it. What should I do? That was how Hiraoka-san answered. The voice that answered sounded happy. Your heart is in the right place, so I'll have you take responsibility. Come see me. Come see you? I'm the spirit of the cherry blossom tree, so come to me. The voice was that of the spirit in the tree. The voice urged them forth, and they wandered over to the tree. The voice continued. The two of you came here because you believed in the legend as well, right? So before you take responsibility, why don't we unite you in your love forever? Come, exchange a kiss. The voice of the tree suddenly said. What did they do? Listen to the voice? Listen. The pair responded to the spirit of the tree. Then they kissed. Then. Four hands suddenly reached up out of the ground. The hands tightly gripped their ankles. Surprised, they looked down at their feet, the dirt falling away to reveal two faces. There was no mistaking it. They were the faces of the couple who had hung themselves from the tree. With this, you will take responsibility, the spirit of the tree declared coldly. Then the two of them were dragged down into the dirt. You declared your love to each other forever. But eternity is fragile and fleeting, so if you wish to stay together forever, bring me a single sacrifice each year. Those were the last words they heard. Kurata-san, the place those hands came out of the dirt is right where you're standing now. They came right out of there. This is the true story about the tree. In order to keep their love going forever, Hirooka-san and Orihata-san still bring the tree a sacrifice each year. I wonder who it'll be this year. Kurata-san, it might even be you. I think that story's a fake. A fake? You're saying my story is fake? Why? It's not. If you say that, you'll be the one who gets killed. You'll be cursed. No, you're already cursed. You're a cursed child. Tell her to quit it. What are you doing? Quit it. You moved, didn't you? Do you remember your promise to me? I told you not to move until my story was done, right? My story isn't over yet. And yet, you broke your promise. I hate breaking promises. So does the spirit in the tree. Because you broke your promise, I'm free. So now, I'll tell you. To tell you the truth, the students who get sacrificed each year always has a dream of Hirooka-san and Orihara-san. Then they learn of the legend of the tree, as well as learning that they will be the sacrifice. Once you've had the dream, you'll be summoned within the week. The couple summon you and hang you during your sleep. That's right. This year I was the one who had the dream. That's how I know about it. The legend of the cherry blossom tree. I learnt all sorts of things in my dream. There was only one way to save myself. Somebody else had to take my place. It doesn't matter who, but I had to tell someone about the story I saw in my dream. I had to make the person promise not to move or scream. Then, if they break that promise, that person will take my place as the sacrifice instead. I'm sorry, Kurata-san. I tricked you, but I couldn't help it. I don't want to die just yet. I want to enjoy my life. I'll do anything to make sure that happens. Kurata-san, you'll have the dream soon too. The dream of the cherry blossom tree. When you do, remember what happens carefully. Then, you must tell someone about it within the week. If so, then that person will take your place instead. But, if you happen to die, then I'll mourn you. But it's an impossible story, isn't it? If you die, then nobody will remember that you existed. Your entire existence will be erased from this world. Even if I try to mourn for you, I won't be able to. Do your best, Kurata-san. please don't hate me. This was fate. Well, that's the end of my story. Let's return to the newspaper club room. The 7 school mysteries aren't done yet, after all.